Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to be showing you how to see if you have a clogged metering device that's causing freezing in the system. This is a Goodman system right here, and this unit is freezing up hardcore. It's like a solid block of ice. So we're gonna, while this unit's running, we're first gonna just check the fan, make sure the fan is running like it should. And we're going to then see how we can check that piston. We're going to recover all the refrigerant, and we're going to replace the filter dryer that's built in on these Goodman units, and we're going to make sure that the piston is clear, and that should resolve our problem. So let's show you what this unit's doing and how we're going to fix it. Today's video is brought to you by Mr. Cool, America's #1 choice for quality, affordable DIY HVAC equipment. And Filter Buy, offering quality HVAC filters shipped right to your door. All right, so these are twin units for this duplex. They're both a 2-ton Goodman system, same exact unit. This one has had 0 problems, but this one, as of recent, we've checked the refrigerant, we've checked the airflow, we've checked the coil. Everything is good, but it keeps freezing up. And we're thinking it's because a clogged metering device is causing that to freeze up, or possibly the filter dryer. So we're gonna turn this off, pull the lid, and we'll show you everything is frozen in here. And you can see this is a solid block of ice. So we're gonna have to wait for quite some time to get this to thaw out. But we're gonna recover the refrigerant, and we're gonna do our work. And while we're doing the work, that will give that some time to thaw out. Now the best way to get a system to thaw out is just that. Pull the disconnect, let the fan run inside. You're gonna get a lot of water draining at the evaporator coil. You could see some at the bottom of the furnace. That's totally normal, but we'll go inside and show you that in a minute. But for now, we're gonna take this cover off and show you what this looks like under here. Check this out, guys. So our accumulator there is completely frozen up. Absolutely a block of ice. So we're gonna get some water and see if we can thaw this out, get that thawed out. Usually normal running water will do that pretty quickly. So we'll get that cleared up, and there is our filter dryer. Now normally in another situation where this filter is outside of the condenser, we would be able to just pump this refrigerant in with the compressor and then do our work and then let the refrigerant out. But because the filter dryer is built in on a Goodman unit, we have to recover the refrigerant. So we're gonna be putting it in this tank, and then we'll put the refrigerant, new refrigerant, in the system when our work is done. So we simply have a couple of braze joints here, and then we can remove and replace that filter dryer. Now, as you can see, all it takes is some running water, and we can thaw this out pretty quickly. Quite satisfying to watch too. Okay, so here's our furnace area, and right off, we already know what we're gonna find back there. There's some dripping water now that we have the condenser turned off. So we're gonna take this cover off and see what we got back here. But the fan is running, and sounds like there's no issue with the fan. We've made sure in the past that this filter was replaced. We've also made sure that the coil is not plugged in any way, so we know this is a refrigeration issue. Okay, so here's what we got inside. As we suspected, pretty good block of ice here. We can actively see this thawing out. So we'll give this a little bit of time while we're pumping the refrigerant down. And hopefully by then this will all be completely dry. We can then just confirm that we have nothing in the inside of our coil there, and proceed with checking our piston, which is going to be right inside of this guy. All right, so this is thawed out a little bit. We're still draining all this ice off. So we just took this pick and we're just going to pull this back. Okay, so we can see we have 0 issues with that. Everything is iced up, obviously, but there's no clogging issues here. That is not our problem. So once that thaws back out all the way, we'll put that cover back on. Okay, so while we're letting this thaw out, we're gonna go and recover our refrigerant, and then we can check our piston. Okay, so before we get started here, I just wanna do like kind of a before and after So we got our gauges hooked up here. We're set to 410A. And as you can see, we've got quite a bit of refrigerant in here. We're going to start the system, let it run for a few minutes and see what it's doing at startup. And while it's running, we have our probes hooked up to check superheat and subcooling as well. And of course, the fan is still running inside. So while I plug this in, I'll just show you my gauges here. Okay, so right off we have a super high subcooling, low superheat. That's a good indicator that we have a clogged metering device. So we'll let it run for a few more minutes and see. It's possible that something could be in there moving around, so it's not just doing this consistently. But we verified that we have airflow. It's not a refrigerant charge issue. We have enough refrigerant in the system. And that's pretty much the only other thing. We're getting our recovery equipment set up here. So this is an Apion G5 Twin. You can procure one of these on our Amazon store. You can get them for super cheap, and we'll show you the same exact process on how to do it. Now we have to get electrical to this, and we don't have an outlet out here. So we're gonna be using this little pigtail adapter. I use this thing all the time. So basically how it works is you take red and green, put it to ground, and one leg of power to hot. Don't make the mistake of putting red and black to your hots, because you will get too much. You'll get basically 220 volts. So I'm gonna eventually just wire the white and green together, and the black is the only one that needs to go to one of these line lugs, and that will get us power anywhere we have 220 power. So that's plugged in. We're gonna take this additional hose and we're gonna go from our out terminal to our recovery tank. Doesn't matter which of these. And then this one, we have our gauges hooked up to the unit already. And this one is gonna go to the inlet on our G5 Twin. Okay, so we have our hoses hooked up here. What we're gonna do is open both of these ports on our G5 Twin. All right, so we started up our recovery machine a few minutes ago, and we're already down to about 66 PSI. Again, this was an empty tank, so this process didn't take very long at all. So once we get close to zero, we'll just then close our tank, and then we'll be good to do our repair. All right, so we're down to zero. We closed our tank off, turned our recovery machine off, and we are ready to go. Now, something to note is that these are full of nitrogen, brand new, but we're gonna be putting brand new refrigerant in this. So I didn't pull a vacuum on it. I just sent the 410A in here, and we're not gonna be reusing this or anything, so it doesn't really matter, even if there is some air in these lines. So if you're not planning on reusing this, then you can just send some air. You don't have to worry about bleeding. But if you do wanna reuse this, you need to pull a vacuum on the tank first, bleed the lines, and everything in there should be good refrigerant that can be reused. You're not legally allowed to sell it, but you can reuse it for your own purposes. All right, so we got most of the leaves taken out here. We took that opportunity to take those out so as to prevent any fires from starting. So we're gonna get our torches out. I'm gonna heat this up, take this bracket off, and we're just gonna use some channel locks to pop these off, and then we'll get our new filter dryer fitted. All right, so we're back down here at the furnace. Everything is thawed out, nice and clean. And moment of truth, we're gonna pop this off and see what's back there. All right, so let's see what we got here. Orifice looks good. Don't see any problems there. Okay, so we confirmed there's zero issues with the orifice. Did not find anything in there. So we're gonna tighten this back up and get our filter dryer replaced. All right, so we got our torches ready. We've got our nitrogen flow going. So we have this regulator on the braze setting right here. And this is just going through the manifold, through the blue side, through the evaporator coil and everything, and then back through the red, which we just have open. So we should have a slight flow there, and we're good to go. So we'll unhook those screws, take the filter dryer out, and this is the new one that we're gonna be popping in. And there you have it, folks. We've got our filter dryer pulled out. We'll just make sure that our arrow is pointed down, just like we pulled it off. And that'll be going towards the furnace. All right, so we've got our filter dryer fitted, and this stupid Goodman has a smaller line on the bottom. So we actually had to swage a small piece of pipe, and we're gonna have 2 joints down there. Really dumb if you ask me, but we're gonna wrap our filter dryer with this stuff to keep any heat off of it. You can also use like a wet rag, and then we'll get to brazing. All right, so now that that's had some time to cool off, we're gonna put our gauge back on here. Turn this on, close both of these, and we're gonna do our nitrogen pressure test. So crank this all the way up, 400 PSI, and we'll slowly feed in about 50. Close that first. Okay, so we got about 56 PSI. Let that stabilize for a second, and we'll check our joints here. Get our hot block taken off. Okay, we stabilized at 55. We're gonna go ahead and feed in about 350 PSI. Set this right where we want it, and then just let it do its thing. And while that's working, we're just gonna rinse this off and get all of our hot block off. All right, so there's our new filter dryer. Everything is fantastic. We settled at 298. We have not budged off of that so far, and we'll just let that sit while we button this up. So we'll put our cover back on, and then we'll be ready to vacuum. All right, so we passed our pressure test. We're ready to hook our True Blue kit up and pull our vacuum on this system. This is the Navac 3 CFM pump that I always use with a Milwaukee battery adapter. And I can usually pull a system down within about 10 minutes or so with this. So we have our massive hose there, we'll connect, and then we'll hook our Schrader core tool up to the low side, let all this nitrogen out, and then we'll pull our vacuum. All right, so as you can see, we're down to 1,300 microns, dropping pretty quickly. That's on our high side, and then our low side, we have our Schrader core tool hooked up. So there's no Schrader core, and we're pulling this down nicely. So let that run for a few minutes. We're gonna get our new refrigerant and our scale and get this refrigerant weighed in. All right, so it's been about 10-15 minutes for about 650 microns. Just want to do a little test here. If we isolate this, our microns do not move up at all. They keep to kind of going down even. That means that this system is good to go. And if this holds for about 5 minutes and doesn't budge, then as long as you're close to that 500 mark, we could let this run for a lot longer, but I want to get this finished up today. So it looks like it's not budging whatsoever. So we're probably going to call that good. And then what we're going to do is put about 50 PSI of pressure just to get positive gas in the system. And then we're going to feed liquid in through the port where the micron gauge is currently attached to. All right, so our decay test passed. So we have our tank on our scale here. We're gonna zero this out. This is already hooked up. So what we're gonna do is open this up. Still at 0 there. So we're going to turn this on and we're gonna bleed any air out of these lines. So first of all, right here, so there's no air there. And then we're gonna open this up, but it's not gonna go anywhere because we have our Schrader core tool closed there. Okay, so I swapped this out with our yellow hose that doesn't have the low loss. And what we're gonna do now is just re-bleed this. So we're gonna open this, gonna bleed this again. And now we're gonna go over here to our Schrader core tool and we're gonna bleed it right here at the source. Okay, so no potential for any air to be in here. I'm just gonna zero out this guy one more time. Okay, so we just fed in about 33 PSI, so we have a positive pressure on this. No contaminants have gotten in the system, it's just refrigerant. So we're gonna take our yellow hose off, take our micron gauge off, and we're gonna hook this up normally, and then we're gonna feed in liquid through the high side until we have the right weight. Right now we're at 0.22, and what we need to get to is 2.75 pounds, which is 44 ounces. Okay, so we have our hoses all swapped over and bled. Everything is bled. We were at 0.22, so all we're gonna do now is flip this upside down. Okay, so we're gonna zero this back out, and then we're gonna go through the high side, and we're gonna feed in as much as it will take as a liquid. You can see our liquid going in there. And again, we need 2.75 pounds. We probably won't be able to weigh in the full amount, but once we start the compressor, we'll then throttle it in through the low side real slowly until we get exactly 2.75 pounds. Now remember, we already put 0.2 in, so we'll just add that to our current amount. So right now we have 0.8. Okay, so we're gonna start this up with 1 pound of refrigerant in it, and we'll wait until we have 2.5 pounds. So we're gonna close this off, start up our condenser, and then we'll start throttling it in there. And I'm also gonna take my probes or clamps and put these on as well. Okay, so we're feeding in our refrigerant slowly through the low side until we get to 2.5 pounds, and that'll be our factory charge with all new fresh refrigerant. All right guys, so we're at our factory charge. We're gonna let it run for a little bit. We're still really low on that's our evaporator cool temperature, but it hasn't run long enough really to make sure this is good. We want about 8 to 11 degrees of subcooling. So we're gonna start feeding in refrigerant and doing this by means of subcooling. But as of right now, we're gonna zero this out. That's our factory charge is in the system right now. So we can see this is climbing. We want that to obviously be closer to 40 degrees. Definitely want it to be above freezing. And again, we want our subcooling to be close to 8 to 10 degrees. All right guys, so this is the final numbers here. So we're at 36.3. We're still, I mean, because it's a fixed piston, maybe this is a little bit lower. Our pressures are spot on. Everything sounds good. So hopefully this fixed the problem. So we'll find out here in the next few days. But that's basically how you would check your piston and how to replace a filter dryer and get it back up and running. Now, while we're here, I just want to give a shout out to abilityrefrigerants.com. If you guys are ever looking for refrigerants, you can hop on their website and you can find a bunch of different refrigerants, pretty much any refrigerant that you'll need to top off your system. And there's a box that you have to check saying you have your EPA certificate. It's not like people are going around checking this, but you do need to check that box verifying that you have the certificate. and they will ship this right to your door, and they have wicked fast shipping, really good customer service. So check them out at abilityrefrigerants.com. Well guys, I hope you learned a thing or two from this video. If you want to see some more repair videos, check out our HVAC training playlist. Whether you're just a homeowner or you want to get into the trades, this is an awesome playlist that helps you learn a lot about HVAC repairs. Until next time, you guys be safe. Later.